Good morning, students. Today, we're going to learn about something called renewable energy, one of the two types of energy we use to create things like electricity or to power our cars. Before we get started, please take a few minutes to watch this short video from National Geographic on solar energy, meaning energy from the sun.
The most powerful source of energy on the planet is actually out in space. It's our sun. More energy falls as sunlight on the U.S. in a single day than it uses in a year. But it's been difficult to turn that sunlight into electricity. Many of us already use some solar energy. But the world has a big appetite for power, and solar power has to be competitively priced and reliable. One good role model is in California. Sacramento, the state capital, is one of the nation's leaders in solar power. Many new homes are equipped with solar cells, and solar panels shade parking lots and city buildings. But most importantly, Sacramento has shown that buying in bulk can dramatically reduce the price per unit, and that people can actually save money using solar power. Or make money. California, along with many other states, has started net metering. It lets citizens sell their extra solar power back to the utility for exactly the price they would otherwise be paying for it. If they use less power than they produce, the utility sends them a check. Deep in California's Mojave Desert, there's a solar generating plant that dwarfs all others. The Kramer Solar Junction Power Facility, covering more than 1,000 acres, creates more energy from solar power than every other solar panel in America combined, 150 megawatts in all.
Which at that full capacity is enough power for the residential needs of about 500,000 people.
Unlike photovoltaic systems, which capture the energy in the sunlight directly, these mirrors reflect the light onto a tube filled with synthetic oil. The 700-degree oil then goes into a boiler that runs an electric turbine.
Now, class, I'll let you listen to just a very little bit about how it works because it's pretty interesting. But that's not really what we need to focus on today. We need to focus more on what renewable energy is and where these types of energies can actually come from. So, as we can see right here, these are windmills. Now, renewable energy, class, is energy that comes from resources that get replaced naturally and can be used again. Now, these are good because it's basically like a never-ending bowl. Since they're constantly replaced and they can be reused, when we take them out of the bowl, the earth just refills that bowl. So even though we are taking those resources from the earth and converting them into energy, they can be replaced, which means that they're very, very efficient. Now, the first type of energy that is renewable, about which we're going to speak today, is wind energy. Wind energy is the converting of energy within wind to a more useful form of energy, usually in the form of electricity. It happens in places where there is a lot of wind, a lot of open spaces, and you often see big, huge fields like this of big windmills. When the wind blows, it causes those windmills to turn, or wind turbines, and when they turn, heat or energy is made. Now, we say made, but we have to remember that energy isn't ever really created. Really, it's just converted. So we're taking the energy that is already within that wind, and it's converted into electricity by the heat that comes off of these when they move. Now, the second type of energy about which we're going to speak today is geothermal energy. Now, remember how we learned how to break down words into prefixes and suffixes to figure out what it really means? Well, let's look at this. We've seen geo many times before. Remember what geo means? Geo means earth. And we've seen thermal many times before too. Remember what thermal means? Thermal simply means heat. So, therefore, geothermal energy is energy that comes from heat from the earth. Energy from the heat of the earth. Now, the core of the earth is the hottest part of the earth. At the very center and it gets cooler and cooler and cooler as we move out, as we get to the crust, which is on which we live. Now, right now, the heat that we use for geothermal energy still comes from the crust, just the tiny thin layer at the top. There's a lot of potential for the center, not the center of the earth, but for other areas of the earth, things closer to the earth, to be used for geothermal energy. The reason that we say there's not a lot of potential for the center of the earth just yet is because it's so hot down there that we don't really have the technology yet to actually get down there and harness that heat. Now, the third of the 4 types of energy about which we'll talk is biomass. Once again, we can break this word down a little bit. Bio. Remember what bio means? Bio means living, right? Exactly. Biomass energy comes from matter that is either alive or that were recently alive. Something that's alive might be plants, corn, for example. We make some fuels, like ethanol, straight from corn. Something that's not alive would be burning wood, for example. Remember when we burn things, heat is created, and that heat can be converted into energy. Wood may not be alive, but it was recently alive. When we burn it, it's still considered biomass energy. And lastly is solar energy. Solar energy is energy that comes from capturing energy from the sun, meaning the heat from the sun, solar thermal, like we talked about last week, and that's converted into more usable energy. This is often used for all kinds of things, fuel entire buildings sometimes even, among many other things, like we saw in our original video. This is really environmentally friendly because it would last as long as the sun lasts. As long as the sun's shining, we can capture that heat, that energy from the sun, and convert it into more usable forms of energy. Now, this energy, guys, is used for many, many, many things. Electricity, sometimes even to power our cars, sometimes to heat whole buildings. Must always remember that renewable energy is much more environmentally friendly than non-renewable sources because, like we mentioned, it's like a never-ending bowl. Pretty cool, huh?